Welcome to another episode of the Relevant Recruiter Show. So today we have another amazing guest, believe it or not. We just keep stacking these guests up. And today we've got a man that is an absolute machine. You've probably seen him out there. You've probably heard of him. His name is Rosen. And Rich is the founder of Cornerstone Search. And Cornerstone Search brings the most accomplished sales and management professionals in the software industry to emerging software companies across the U.S. Now, Rich has recently been named in the Forbes top 20 executive search firms in the last 2 years. And we were just chatting before, and Rich is carrying all of this weight on his own. So today I get the opportunity to pick his brain. Rich, thank you so much for being here with me today on the show.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Right on. So as we get started, Rich, share a couple personal highlights. Where are you located? What you got going on? What's the family life like?
Yeah, so we're up in Boston, Massachusetts. So it is, we're in Boston, got 2 kids. They're actually off to overnight camp for the summer. So we have a nice free summer. And then
you just said overnight camp? Wait, where do you
weeks of pure heaven, baby. Yeah. This is, it's actually my son's last year as a camper, my daughter's first year as a counselor. So, but it is the marriage saver, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well put. Yeah, we only have the sports camp, and we only get to send ours off until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon every day.
Oh, no. You are doing it all wrong right from the start. You overnight camp. I mean, I could say I went to overnight camp as a kid. And it is literally the best thing for the kids. They get, there's no more whining, mommy, come fix this crap. They actually have to figure out stuff on their own. They make the best friends, lifelong friends. I mean, like one of my oldest friends is the first kid I met when I was 9 years old, camp. And, it's really, it honestly is, it's a absolutely phenomenal thing to do for your kids. So, yeah. and for your own life too, quite frankly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We did Hume Lake is a little thing overnight camp we did with our oldest a couple years back. So yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've got 5 though, so it's
oh Jesus,
getting them all out of the house is something.
Maybe you shouldn't get them all out of the house. You don't want 6, God.
Yeah. Well, we should be good on that one. Though. We should be good on that. We're taking care of some things. So
there you go.
Oh shoot. Well, right on, man. Like I said, thanks for joining me today. How did you get started in the recruiting industry?
So I got started. I was actually the youngest stockbroker in the country at one point. I was still in college, and it was awesome. I was managing like $150 million before I even got out of school. Unfortunately, the guy I was working for pretty much went nuts. To sum it up, and he went nuts. He came back to Boston. I was down in DC, came back to Boston, worked as a broker, crushed it over there, did like $1 million in 6 months in assets. So just selling bonds. The guy didn't want me to go on my own because I was making too much money for him. This is Dean Witter. And I was like, F you, I'm leaving either way. You're not making any more money off of me. So I left. And I'm like, all right. So I had a buddy that was doing, his father had a recruiting firm years ago. And he's like, hey, you should check it out. So I went into MRI and said, all right, if it's good, I'll go start my own business. If it's not good, I'll find myself a job. So I did it, and I went to MRI, closed 2 deals my first 10 days on the job. I think it's still a record, at least for MRI New England, if not MRI in general. And I was 23, I think. I made $40,000 in 10 days, and I'm like, well, this is great. I'm like, what's better than this? So yeah, man. Then I was there for 6 months, was like, if not number 1, top 5 out of 77 recruiters every month, and said adios and went on my own. So I've been on my own ever since.
So 23 years old, you started this whole thing, really?
That's it, man. Now I am all of 49. So I've been doing it more than half my life. So
amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a leap. That's a hell of a leap.
You know what? But it's like we were saying before. I mean, you got to take a chance. I mean, risk nothing. To risk nothing, you risk everything.
Yep.
So, you got to jump when you can, and sooner you do it. I mean, especially in this job, I don't know if this is good or bad to say to the guys that are in your group, but I mean, at the end of the day, is the clients don't care about your company. They care about getting results, right? And they don't care if it's MRI or whoever. If you're getting results, awesome,
right?
But you're competing with all the other MRI recruiters out there too. You're splitting the fees with them. You're losing. I mean, I don't know. I never understood. One of the reasons I never grew my business to a bigger team, other than maybe 1 or 2 people from time to time. I don't understand how, if you're that good, why you're working for someone else.
Yeah.
I never understood it. So
I've asked the same question to several folks a lot. I feel like this is probably one of the easier businesses that you can get into with
unfortunately,
minimal, yeah, unfortunately, yeah, minimal risk. Right. Right.
yeah,
When you went out
it's,
on your own, I mean, when you were with MRI, did they provide, leads for new business, or
no,
did you have to kind of figure all that out once you went out on your own?
I started a whole new niche from day one. And, I mean, I literally had the first computer at MRI in New England, literally the first computer in the entire company. And I was there, the newest guy there. I closed my 2 deals, bought a computer, and, and then slowly everyone else started doing it. But there was nothing. The phone system was literally, I think, a year older than I was alive at the time. It was those peach phones with 2 rows of blinking lights still. I mean, literally, it was orange shag carpet in the office, horrible.
There you go.
But but their training. I mean, the MRI training was really good. But at the end of the day, this whole job is just about doing it. So, I went, did my thing, and we went as a stockbroker. They're like, make 150. They're like, make 150 calls a day, or more. You'd make like 900 calls a day sometimes. But you go to MRI, and they're like, well, make 50 calls a day. And I'm like, well, 50 seems like lunch. I mean, that's like you did that by breakfast essentially. So you just, pick up the phone and see what happens.
Yep. And you built your business with a lot of picking up the phone, direct outreach and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still a cold caller. I love it. If I'm not on the phone calling people, I don't know what I'm doing during the day, because emails are for nighttime. You waste your time during the day if you're not on the phone. If your calendar's not full, then start dialing.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, when at MRI, it was all cold calling. It wasn't even really email then. It was, faxes. Remember, it was all thermal faxes actually. But it was really, I mean, this was 96. We weren't doing a lot of email.
Right.
So, I mean, especially since no one had computers, it was rather challenging in the office. Right. So it was all cold calling. Big giant blotter to track everything on.
Given that you've been doing this for 20 plus years of cold calling, and obviously, my stick is getting people away from cold calling as much as they possibly can. Mm-hmm. What do you see, and I hear it a lot too, I mean, I actually just had a phone call with a guy today that just says, he just doesn't have the same success. Same thing. He's been in the industry actually 40 years, says he doesn't have near the success cold calling as he used to, doesn't want to do it anymore. But have you noticed like a drop off in the results, overall? I mean, obviously it's still working for you, but is it as effective as it used to be?
Nothing is as successful as it used to be. Emailing, calling, texting, none of it works anymore. You got to do all of it. Right. I mean, and like, so my process is I blast emails out at night. So I use, so I build my list. I use one tab, put all the LinkedIn tabs or things in one tab, send it to my admin. He enters all those people at night. Goes into Crelate. He finds the phone numbers and emails, goes into Crelate, into a specific job list. That job is tied to my, my email campaign program. So then it starts people off in a campaign. And then, so that goes out, tonight, I call them tomorrow.
Right.
If they say, don't call them, I'll probably still call them if they're good. But, hey, they don't sell it. A lot of times you don't see the emails, right? I mean, it's so.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you can't worry about the response. They just says no as a trigger reaction. So,
yep.
I mean, so, I mean, it's a vicious cycle. Some people call that cold calling. Some people don't call it cold calling. I say, if there's no real relationship, but to me, it's still a cold call.
Right.
Whatever you want it is. Either way, outbound. And I have a lot of success cold calling because doing it that way, because these guys are, I saw your emails, I see your emails, I see your emails. Right. And I don't have to just call up and say, hey, I'm just calling you out of the blue. I'm just calling to following up on an email.
Right.
And
you're creating some awareness around you, theoretically, before the call's made.
Exactly. You're not the complete stranger. They probably check my LinkedIn profile. I know that I'm not some, freak, and just, I've actually got a real background, been doing this for a little bit. And, we probably have connections just because, I'm connected with most of LinkedIn, I think, at this point. Right. So, but you have to do them all. There's not one method. I know there's a lot of, no offense, there's a lot of trainers who don't try to get away from cold calling, but it's still a super important piece of it, because these candidates, especially executives, CEOs, CROs, people are afraid to call them. Mm-hmm. Fuck cares? Right. Last time I saw, they still, they got to go to the bathroom. They got to do all the same stuff we all do, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's it's what you need to do because people aren't calling.
Right.
So when you call, now it shows, all right, this guy's got some balls. He's actually going to put some action in and not just be this, another reactive internal recruiter sitting on the outside for a bigger fee.
Right.
I mean, you have to stand out and I don't even know what the numbers are, but I'm guessing half the emails we all send don't even get seen.
Oh yeah, at least, yeah.
They most of them end up in spam even.
Yep.
And you don't know. So these people that send 9,000 emails, I'm like, why is no one calling me back? Because they're not seeing your email.
Right.
It's that simple. Your content is important, but they have to actually see it.
Right.
So,
100%.
And if they don't see it, you don't have a shot in hell. So if you don't pick up the phone, you really have no shot. If you don't send them a text, you have no shot. So you got to build pick a cadence and go do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing you're talking about there is you've got your system that works for you, right? And there's a lot of different ways to get it done. And you found out a way that obviously works for you. And I know, I don't know what you're comfortable sharing, but I know you bill a shit ton every single year.
Yeah.
And that works, right? But I think either way, it's multiple touch points. And I find so many people in sales, recruiting, I send a message, they didn't respond, something's wrong with me or them.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to touch them multiple times.
Yeah, dude, I had a guy that I had a couple months ago. He just kind of went dark. He accepted a job, went dark, and I mean, I called 911 for a safety visit. And the guy, he was glad I did. He called me back. He's like, I'm glad you did it. He knew it was out of character. He was having basically a panic attack over a bunch of stuff that was happening in his life all at the same time, and cost me a big fee. But whatever. It was he's been referring me people like every week. The guy will send me another candidate. He's like, every time he talks to someone now, he sends me someone. Right. I mean, you got to do what's right. You got to reach out to people. You got to touch people. And, it's, the market's so hot right now. There's so much opportunity. You can't just rely on one method to reach out, and you got to have a system. And, I mean, like I was telling you, I think I just placed like 25th person already this year, which is insane. Yeah. So, I mean, it's,
so 25 people, you're still making a shit ton of outbound calls. How do you get it all done in a day? I mean, first off, do you ever freaking sleep or?
Lately, no, but I'm not a big sleeper. I literally go to the gym, work, and just have dinner and do whatever the kids need to get done, and then just work. I mean, I say this all the time. People think it's crazy, but I mean, I still play poker twice a week. I, ride my bike. I go to the gym. We go on vacations. We do a lot of big vacations every year. I mean, I probably take, 8 weeks vacation, right. And there's, but what people don't want to do is do the hard work, which is the grunt work, which is the research. They all try to outsource research, and you can't. You can't possibly know your clients as well. You can't know the industry as well. You can't know your candidates as well if you've got some guy for $2 an hour doing this for you. Right. So while you're sitting in front of the TV, I mean, I got the TV on 24/7. It's on now. It's I mean, while you're sitting in front of a TV, you do your research, and then I build my list, and then it's just the whole cycle starts. So it's not rocket science. And every day I'm probably putting 30 to 50 new names in my database every single day, at minimum, probably. It's very rare I don't put 30 people in at least. Right. And then they're in the campaign. You write a good email, they refer you out to people. So you're in the bathroom. You go on LinkedIn and comment on people's stuff on LinkedIn. Get your name out there. Right. I mean, it's just using your day wisely. Like there's so much time to be made. Why waste time? If someone's going to say, like we were saying earlier, someone's going to allow you to make $1 million a year, why would you turn that down? It's life-changing amounts of money. Right. So I don't know. You're going to do it anyway. You might as well do it efficiently. Yeah. Well, you probably don't give yourself as much credit because you live your own life every single day. But from the outside looking in, I don't know if you're doing it intentionally or not, but the efficiency has got to be on a different level to run the business the way you do at the success rate that you do. I don't know. I mean, I always think there's a better way to do things. I never think I'm the best. I never think I have it right. I know people that bill way more than me. in Pinnacle and stuff, that, for the other guys that are in Pinnacle with me. And we all have slightly different systems, but at the end of the day is the biggest thing. We're the most common denominators. We're generally on the phone. We're working smart. You're not working on dumb searches. You value your time. And you tell the client your time is as valuable, if not more than theirs. Quite frankly, I would bill at $500 an hour, so,
Right.
Technically my time is important. And if they don't believe it, then don't work with them. I mean, it's really that simple. And if you take that attitude, they'll have more respect for you. They'll give you a better fee. They'll actually return your calls when you call. And you just tell them when they don't call you back, I tell my clients, they basically have, 72 hours, 48 hours to get back to me, or I'm just going to put the search on hold. I got too much business.
Right.
And, and they respect it because, they need to get stuff done. And if it's not a priority to them, why is it a priority to me?
Right. Well, we talked about this a lot before we went live here, and we talked about that mindset, of valuing yourself and being able to say no when it's not a fit, in saving your energy. I mean, I can't imagine that you started that way day one. I mean, how did you kind of build yourself into this? Like, hey, I respect myself. I respect my time. I'm going to say no, knowing that something else is coming.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Listen, I've taken plenty of lousy job orders. There's no question. I've wasted plenty of time on searches. It's a really good question. I think part of that trainer for being a stockbroker really taught me how to be detect the bullshit.
Right.
Whether it was dealing with a Wall Street analyst who was trying to give me, lies about a company that I knew he was completely lying about because he never talked to a sales guy, or talking to people I'm trying to sell stuff to who were just giving you the runaround. So, I think it gave me one, they gave me some insight, but then two, in recruiting, you've got to work on products you believe in. If you don't believe in that company, you don't believe in that manager that he can sell it, you don't believe that there's a real story, that, if your client can't sell your candidate, you're wasting your time.
Right.
And as soon as I smell that, I'm done. And, it goes to the back burner. If I, trip over someone to get lucky, then great, maybe I'll throw someone in, but it's not going to be the top search.
Right.
And like, unless it's an engaged or a retained search, we're not really spending a whole lot of time on it, but
Right.
There's got to be a compelling story. And if your clients can't tell you what the pain points they're solving for, what's the impact of their product, what are you doing? How is this candidate going to benefit from going there?
Right.
Especially in this particular market where it's such, this is the most candidate driven market I have ever seen in my career, so, clients right now are a dime a dozen. Next year that could be completely different,
Right.
but, for the moment, I'm not doing this, but I should, if I was smarter, is just do pure MPC marketing to get clients, because they are all, there's just so much opportunity there.
Right. Right.
I think I have I have about 51 openings on my desk right now.
Yeah. I hear that from my clients too. It's just, it's hard to, now everything's shifted. It's funny.
It's never been like this.
With what I do is like back in, last year in December, everybody was still like, how can I get new business? Now it's like, how can I get candidates more efficiently and things like that.
Exactly.
How do you, you mentioned obviously not everybody passes the sniff test, so to speak, but how do you kind of get that, what process are you doing to detect the bullshit of the client to make sure that I'm, at the best of my ability, not going to be working with somebody that I'm going to say, waste my time with?
Yeah. It's asking all the hard questions and getting
Right.
the answers, and, doing a deep dive on finding what's their, why is the hiring manager there?
Mhm.
How long has the role's been open, all those basic stuff, but it's really listening for the answers. Is what's not being said sometimes is almost as important as what's being said.
Right.
Do they really know, do they not know the answers to what's the comp going to be? What's the quota going to be? What's the impact? Who are your clients? I deal with a lot of startups. Who are your investors? If they don't really know these answers, I got to tell you, it's a big flag.
Right.
Because how are you selling this to, if you, like, I play sales guys, how are they selling this to a sales guy who is for sure they're going to ask these questions if they're any good? If they can't tell me a real story about how they're better than a competitor,
Mhm.
So that's all the basing on the job order discovery stuff. But then once you get into the search, say they get past that BS detector, then you
Right.
start sending candidates, and it's like, nah, there's no response. There's no, day 2 goes by, day 3 goes by. I shoot them an email and say, listen, are we still working on this? Is this still a priority?
Mhm.
And and if they just tell me, we didn't like your candidate, I was like, well, listen, I need feedback. I need to know why. And once you give it to me, we'll get back on the search. If you want to work with someone else, I totally get it.
Right.
And again, it's just another way of having them take you serious, that you're not just another resume flipper.
Right.
It's like every person I send out is vetted. I mean, I tell clients, if I send you more than 4 resumes, one of us is doing something wrong. Either I'm off, you're off, or I'm not the right guy for your search.
Right.
And if I send one and they don't get back to me, I'm like, I got 3 more shots. So you tell me what you need to see, because clearly there was a disconnect. So, I'll say a little nicer, obviously, in an email, but there's a disconnect in what I thought you guys wanted and what you have. Because if I send someone out, I fully expect them to get interviewed and go deep into a process.
Right.
And that's the attitude you need. I mean, I think too many recruiters just send garbage out and pray.
Right.
Send quality or nothing.
Right.
The whole just spray and pray kind of routine is not great for long-term business.
Right. Yeah. So straightforward approach, it's kind of our topic for today, which we've already kind of been talking about. But what do you think, and you've kind of mentioned some of it, but what do you think in terms of like billing, revenue, right? If I'm going to make revenue, where are the areas that I need to be most straightforward as a recruiter? Where do I need to be no bullshit? Like, hey, let's do this.
I mean, when you're talking as far as what space, or just what questions to focus on, or
what questions to focus on, like how you're interacting with the clients and candidates, where's the area to be really direct and straightforward. In some areas other people might be like, no, I don't want to ask that type of question, or
Yeah. No, I think you really got to pin these clients down. You've got to really understand, what's the hiring time frame. Do you want to have this hired tomorrow? Do you want to have it hired next week? Or is this something for Q4 and you're just building a bench now? Have you
Right.
gone through all your friends and family? Ask them, have you called your neighbor yet? Because if I send you, someone, I don't want to hear that you've already talked to this guy. Like in these contracts, everyone's having everyone sign about, if someone that's been you've been in our system for 12 months, we're not paying you on. So I make them, it's in my contract that basically says, hey, listen, you need to give me documented proof that you've had an actual conversation with them, not that they've been in your system and we're just reactivating them.
Right.
I'm like, unless you want to give me a list of every single person you've spoken to, I'm like, I can't really work that way. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
And if they're not willing to, all right, well, that's a business choice they have to make.
Right.
I mean, and it just doesn't work. Like, our job is not to reactivate their dead candidates that someone fell asleep on the switch on. And just because you had them on LinkedIn or you pinged them once 10 months ago, sorry.
Right.
So
right. Well, shit, I can go scrape a bunch of data and say that they're in my system.
Well, that's what I said. I mean, that's what I told this play this morning. I'm like, listen, I got 100,000 people in my database. I can just dump them on yours if you want. And then if you hire them the next year, call me. Right. If that's what you really want, I'm like, I could probably even give you a discount for it, quite frankly, because I'm not doing any work.
Right.
So it's, but those clients that want to play those games, they're not serious. You need to build that rapport with the hiring manager, the HR folks, the talent folks, because, there's the contract, that the legal and the CFO needs to abide by. And then there's the reality of the contract. What's that gray area? And if you're a partner and they're a real partner, they'll agree. They'll say, listen, this is the contract, or we got to put this in for legal. And I get it, because, comes from another recruiter. There's certain things, unfortunately, that are just going to be there, right or wrong.
Right.
But reality is, I expect them, and I've had it happen where I've sent someone in, the guy was in their system from 10, 12 months ago, 11 months ago, whatever. They still paid me because, they knew we did the work. Right. So, and those are the clients you want. And that's the ones you'll go to bat for. That's the ones you'll work on a 20% fee for, opposed to a 25% fee for it even.
Right.
Because they're there for you.
That's going to be my next question is like, okay, money talks, right? But outside of, fees, I mean, how do you kind of go, okay, A, B, C, what are you looking for?
In terms of how I like price it out, you mean in terms
in terms of how you're going to say, okay, I'm going to give you my time. I'm going to prioritize you in my in my day, in my search.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, I'm a people person. I'm a partner person first. Like working with someone who I know I can have a long-term relationship with is a lot more important than getting a 30% fee.
Right.
Because the market's going to turn and we're all going to be begging for clients again.
Right.
So, I'd rather get a lot of great contracts signed now, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And not bad contracts, but real contracts that they're in play for when the market's turned, and we can always just say we already have an agreement in place. But for me, it's all about responsibility, responsiveness, partnership, the value again. I mean, it comes down to working with clients that want to work with you, not fighting uphill. Like every time you call a VP and he's a jackass, I have no interest. I mean, there's the clients that don't understand that we're here to help them, and the HR people or internal recruiters that think we're trying to fight them or make them look bad, it's not worth your time.
Right.
So, you're better off moving on and just finding clients that want to work with you. It's a lot easier lifestyle.
Right.
I've got clients that I've worked with for 20 years plus that, they're friends. Like one guy came and picked me up. He was on his buddy's 155-foot yacht and came and picked me up in Newport, and we hung out. You want to be eventually, it's great to become friends with these guys. You're helping them look good. Our whole job and the whole selling pitch is making these hiring managers look great.
Right.
So, they should want to be your buddy.
Right.
Where, so go about it.
So when you look at, the success you've had, and, a lot of the conversations I have will come around when I'm starting out, right? Or I'm not hot in business, right? It's usually, well, I'm going to take anything that I can work on. What's your advice in terms of finding that balance of, hey, I'm going to work with people that only value me, but hey, I don't have enough in my pipeline, right? Where do you strike that balance? I know for you, it's not an issue anymore because you've got so much talent out there, right? But
when I first started, my manager, I just remember my manager, they wanted me to get 15 searches before we started working on any search. Obviously I didn't really listen to that. So I think it's good advice though. But because, you want to spend, every day you should spend time finding clients, when you're starting out, especially until until you've got 15, until you really have 5 A searches on your desk, like A-level searches where the client is top notch, they're responsive, fees are good, check, everything's right in line. You should be looking for them, because if you don't have 5 searches on your desk every month, it's going to be really hard to close 5 deals every month. And 5 deals is hard to close every month, but it's an awesome goal and it will make you a shit ton of money and change your life.
Right.
So, at the end of the day though, you've got to spend time and you got to block your time out. I find where you're spending so many hours a day to work on this job, so many hours working a day on the next job. But the key is you want to be working on similar jobs. So every call is a multi-pronged call.
Right.
You're not working on, I don't understand the whole world of generalists and generally, where you're working on a manufacturing job, then you're working on a sales job, then you're working on a rocket launcher job, then you're working on a robot job. They have nothing to do with each other. It's a waste of time. It's just, it's a one-prong approach and you'll just burn yourself out. Right. But if you've got 5 clients in whatever, construction, they're all looking for project managers. Well, boom, pick a geo and go to town.
Right.
So, but that's, but you've got to have quality jobs, and you cannot just rely on having, I got one job and let me just work on that, because you're dead in the water, because that job could be gone tomorrow. Your guys could flail, who knows, a million things could go wrong.
Right.
So, you want to have a pipeline of candidates, but you got to have that funnel keep rolling for new clients. So you never, I would almost say you never have enough, but when you're starting off, you probably don't, because your chances are you're not going to take all great job orders because you're new. It's a learning experience, and you got to take some bad ones to learn what a bad one looks like.
Right.
So,
right. What do you do? You've been doing this for 20 plus years now. What's the main driving, motivating factor? You've made the money now, so I know that's, of course, you love the money and everybody does, but outside of that, what drives you to keep hustling the way you do?
It's a fear of failure is absolutely number one. It's
love it.
Literally it. It is literally it. it's like, but listen, you got to put two kids through college. I mean, if you go to private school, private colleges, it's going to cost you 1.3 million before taxes,
Yep.
so to afford for 4 years of college. So, I mean, that alone is pretty motivating.
Yeah.
You just, I mean, it's just, what I don't know what else I'm going to do. I mean, it's just like, it's like, it's a tough job that you can make a lot of money in if you put a little effort in.
Right.
And it's a competitive thing. It's just like, I hate to lose. Like I expect to win. The wins don't excite me. I mean, not that I love to win, don't get me wrong, but it's,
right.
I hate to lose.
Right.
And if you ever watch like Michael Jordan or Tom Brady or any of these guys or any great sales guy, it's all, they tell you about the losses. They can tell you in detail about the losses, but the wins, well, they expect to win. They don't remember as much. I mean, unless it's the Super Bowl, and I think good sales guys are the same way. So it's, I just think, this job, I think there's so many people go into recruiting for the wrong reason. They think they're social workers. They think they're doing all these do-gooders, and that's all great because we do a lot of good for a lot of people. But at the end of the day, it's a fucking job. It's a sales job. It's a business. And if you do it ethically and you build long-term relationships and you look at your client page of today and your candidate page of tomorrow, and that's your attitude, you will never run out of business. But if you start just hustling people and pushing them into some dog pile every time because you have the opening, then they don't call you back because they know you're the guy that calls for crappy jobs. I call people up and they say, "Oh, you always call with interesting things." Even if they don't know me, they see it posted online, they see it, whatever. And that is one of the big differences, but I mean, but this job, but at the end of the day, this job is fun. I mean, it's a turns your brain to potatoes, but I mean, it's a fun, what other job can you literally sit around your PJs and make, 6-7 figures?
Yep.
I mean, and you never have to meet anyone if you don't want, I mean, so I don't know. I mean, I think we're lucky to be in this job, and as hard as it can be at some points, you tell me who else, because, the amount of money, you can make in a month is more than most people make in a year.
Yeah, no, it's incredibly lucrative if you're good at it. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. And that's it. So, yeah, and it all comes down to effort. We were saying at the beginning, most recruiters don't put effort in. So,
right. Yeah, well, you're a machine on a different level, my friend. I got to give you that. What would you say, are the biggest challenges that you're seeing? I don't want to say the challenges, but like the biggest things that frustrate you about the recruiting industry.
I think one of the biggest things is new people coming in trying to just do these piss poor low fees, 10% fees, and I don't care what you're selling. Your time is more valuable than that. It cheapens the whole industry. I think. To me, it's super frustrating because everyone's working hard to get these fees and they're finally going up, and then you got these newbies getting taught to do things at 5, 8, 10%,
right?
And it's just bad for the industry. It's bad for business. It shows how little value you have in yourself, and you're just wasting your time. You got to think bigger, but that's one of the biggest frustrations. But and then this the fact that there's no barrier to entry to this business. It's super competitive, which is annoying and good because these clients, the same thing. They think they can get you for 15%, 10%, because all these people are doing it. So, and they realize the quality's not, those people just don't have the same reach and network and quality of build. But other than that, I mean, listen, the business is frustrating. It's mentally exhausting. I am so excited to be going on vacation next week. It's a mentally exhausting business. The amount of outreach you have to do. For searches now, it's not uncommon. I have to reach out to 400 people, to find, the right candidate, because they all have 3 offers in hand already. They're getting pinged 1,000 times. So you got to figure out a way to get in front of them. That's different between emails, texts and calls, what we were saying. It takes a lot longer than it used to sometimes. Like before, I'd finish, a search in 2 weeks, typically. Now, maybe it's maybe 3 weeks. I don't know, but it's whatever it is. It's a lot more of a grind. You get a lot more people backing out of opportunities, accepting other opportunities. So listen, this is not a job for the faint of heart if you want to work at a high level.
Right.
But
who have been some of the kind of mentors you've had that have really influenced you along your journey?
I think one of the, I always think like, Danny Cahill's been great, like as far as recruiting goes. Trish Tampkin's really good. They have just great insight on things. But I love listening to sales podcasts, quite frankly. I just think they're interesting. They're fun. You learn so much from them. There's like 30 Minutes of President Club's a great podcast. Even How I Built That, Ira Glass, I think it's Ira Glass, who's just how these people built their businesses.
Right.
It's just fascinating how people do things and the adversities that are overcome. But I've never been like, hey, this person's taught me a ton. I learn a little bit from a lot of people, because I've had the fortune to play salespeople and sales leaders and some amazing salespeople. And, we've become friends. So they love to, give me advice and, how to really be a true salesperson, because in recruiting, I don't think most of us are true sellers. I don't think I'm a true seller, quite frankly. I'm just very direct and very real, and it resonates with the people I deal with. And I think people like the authenticity is what I've learned.
Mm-hmm.
I think too many recruiters either try to be Joe sales guy, or just cough up a fur ball, when they're trying to, they're just spitting too much bullshit.
Right.
So, but so I've been lucky just learning from a lot of salespeople, but like, I always think like Danny Cahill's, is the best, for just good insight in the recruiting world in general. And Trish Tampkin, dynamite. She's got a great, all around process in.
Yeah, she was singing your praises on my post before this. So.
Yes,
I need to get her on the show. I need to get both of them on the show.
Her and Jason are great, because for new recruiters coming in, they have a great way of wording things. They have a great way to approach things. Like, I don't agree with everything they do, but their stuff works. They've got a great model to teach people all the different facets, like not just client acquisition, but candidate acquisition, Boolean searching, all that good stuff. And but there's a handful of good trainers out there, and I think they're two of the best in the recruiting world. The rest of it is just learn how to, listen to sales podcasts. They're you got to learn how to be a salesperson without being salesy.
Right.
So,
right. It's definitely an art.
It is. And there's, and you never learn enough. I just bought a book to read on vacation about like asking questions, power questions and stuff. It's that's the best thing about sales. You're always learning something.
Right.
And because whatever you knew yesterday is worn out by next week. So you got to freshen it up and change things around a bit.
So what do you look forward to? You're successful as shit in the business. Do you have any plans of expanding? What are you looking forward to as you continue to grow the business?
Retiring. Honestly, I have learned I am not a great manager, because I move way too fast. I don't have an attention to detail, and I just get shit done. So I don't, I'm, I don't really, you never say never. I don't have any great plans to expand. I had one girl that worked with me for like 6 years at one point, who she cranked. When she left, she did like 440 her last year. She was killing it, but she got burnt out. We run fast, and I don't have a lot of patience. So, it's not having patience and ADD is a blessing for recruiting, I think. So, it makes you get stuff done.
Yeah.
It pushes your clients in a nice way, so it's, I don't know. I just keep rolling until I don't need to roll anymore. So, there's a certain amount of money I think, everyone has to have just so you can comfortably retire, so when we get there, or if I just have nothing else to do or something better to do, then, that's what we'll figure it out then. But till then, man, we just work, take vacations, get the kids through school, and call it a day. So.
Love it, man. Love it. For those that want to connect with you that aren't connected, what's the best way to find Rich Rosen?
Yeah, honestly, it's getting tougher. I'm almost out of LinkedIn connections, to be honest with you. So I got to get to the point where they just make people do follow, if you could do it as a follower. But Facebook is great. LinkedIn is great. Don't get offended if I don't accept it. Just I'm trying to save those last few hundred for sales folks that I can place. So, but
give them a follow on LinkedIn. Give them a follow.
Exactly. Give me a follow. It's that's probably the easiest and safest way to do it. And I post a bunch of stuff, and happy to help wherever I can. So
Awesome, man. I appreciate you hanging here today. A lot of the people that are listening to this podcast would love to have the success that you're having. I mean, what is one piece of advice that you can leave them with?
I just work hard. I mean, work smart, work hard, make the phone calls. Don't cut corners. That's the biggest thing. Everyone thinks there's a magic button to get clients, to get candidates. There's not. There's no simple way to do it. You just have to have a process, and you've got to follow it. And
Yep.
I tell you, one of the things that changed, really helped me out was, at the end of the day, when you're said you're done with making your calls, make one more call every day. You make one more call. That's 5 extra calls a week, 20 extra calls a month, whatever, 240, more, a year. I mean, that's like getting an extra week's worth of work in, basically, or two.
Right.
And you'd be amazed how many times that last call, after 5:30, whatever the date is pans into business. I mean, the other thing, my goal every day is to have one send out every single day, and I try to work till I have that one send out.
Right.
And if you have a send out a day, I can guarantee you'll make 6 figures,
Yeah.
and high 6 figures without a doubt.
Right.
So
love it, man. Rich, thank you for hanging with me. Relevant Recruiter Group. We will be back, I think, next week, if not the following. But Rich, thanks again for dropping all this amazing knowledge and advice and sharing your story. We'll talk.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Talk to you.